Hello, welcome to yet another episode where we shall be looking at the proposed memorandum for mathematical literacy 2025 prelim for Gauteng. Okay, so looking at this first format where the question paper and the answer book are combined, is the first time we're having a scenario like this. Okay, and I believe it's worth a try for the experience, okay? So let's dive into the questions and see what we were supposed to do. So they are telling us we have 5 questions. We need to answer all of them within the spaces that have been provided. Need to show all the calculations clearly. We can use a calculator, round of answers to 2 decimal places. All units, okay, must be indicated, diagram not to scale. We cannot tear anything from the pages or the paper, and so on and so forth, okay. Now look at the first question, 1.1. They're telling us table 1 gives definitions and terminologies that are used in MathSlit. Match the following, okay, column A and column B. So with 1.1, they're telling us that the value of one currency relative to the value of another, this is the same as the exchange rate. So we're gonna go with option D. And then 1.1.2. The rate that is charged per unit of services or products, that is the same as a tariff, okay, which is our F. And then 1.1.3, compulsory tax that is charged for the consumption of goods and services. So for as long as it is compulsory, okay, everyone needs to pay. That is the VAT, which is the value added tax, which is E. And then we move on to 1.1.4, an entry into the account which shows money that is paid into the account, okay? So when money comes into your account, is it a debit or is it a credit? So money that enters your account will be known as a credit, okay? So that is going to be G. And then 1.1.5, an increase in the price of basket of goods or services, that is basically inflation, which is option B. All right, remember this is just the proposed memorandum. The actual memorandum is not yet out, okay? So let's see, with 1.2, they're telling us that traffic delays and fatalities are caused by an increase in the number of vehicles on the road. Statistics ACA has recorded a number of registered vehicles per province within March 2023 and March 2024. Study the table below and use it to answer the questions. Okay, so we have all the information as required. And then they are telling us that in Gauteng, we have 4 million and all of that and all the numbers, they're just direct forward. Okay, then they're asking us which province, okay, registered the second highest number of vehicles in 2023. So the keyword will be 2023. So in 2023, we're seeing that the province with the highest registered vehicles is GP. Okay, the question is asking for the second highest, meaning that we have the Western Cape. Okay, so in that case, we're just going to say Western Cape. Okay, so some people just say WC. Okay, which is fine. Then we move on. We move on to the next aspect. Write down the number of vehicles registered in the Republic for the 2023 in words. So in that case, we're seeing 13 million, and then 0, 2, 3, and then 8, 3, 3. Okay, so the question is, how do we write that in words? So we know that this is going to be 13 million. Okay, 13 million. Okay, and then 23,000. And then 800. Okay, 833. Okay, so that is how we would write that. 13,023,833 vehicles. Then calculate the missing value of A, which is the number of vehicles registered. in the Eastern Cape in March 2024. So when you look at A, which is the Eastern Cape, we already have our total, okay, which total is 13,195,793. Okay, so now how do we get the A? So we're going to add up all these numbers, okay, and then subtract from this 13,195 and so on. How many marks is this question? It's a 2-mark question. Okay, so I'll start by simply adding up those numbers on top. So it's 5070,287 plus 177,3639, and then we are adding 2155,489 plus the 647,154 plus the 933,276 plus the 667,632 plus 792,815. Okay, and then I'm adding the 295,238. So when I add all those numbers, okay, I'm getting a total of 12,335,530. Okay, remember we are subtracting the 13,195, okay? So 13,195,793. Okay, so what I will do, I'll do the subtraction. Okay, 13,195,793. And I'm getting 800, okay, and 60,263. Okay, so that is the value of A. Remember how we got this? We added up all the numbers, okay? All right, then question 1.2.4. Express the number of vehicles registered in the Free State in March 2024 as a percentage of the total vehicles registered in March 2024. So let's see. We know that the total for the 2024 is 13195,793. Okay. This must be divided by the Free State value. Okay, Free State is 647,154, 647,154. And then the result we get, we're going to multiply by 100. 647,154. That's correct. Okay, so then if I put my 647,154 over the 13195, okay, 793, and then I multiply this by 100. What am I getting? I'm getting a 4,90%, okay? So it's a 4,90%. So that is how I would have obtained those 3 marks. Okay, then 1.2.5, determine the difference, okay, between the number of vehicles registered in the Northern Cape and the Western Cape, or sorry, Northern Cape and Northwest in 2024. So how many vehicles do we have in the Northern Cape for 2024? So we have 295,238, 295,238. Difference means subtraction, okay? Northwest, what are we having for Northwest? Is 667,632. 667,632. Now, in this scenario, we can see that Northern Cape is a smaller number, and then this is a bigger number. We can always switch them around so that it favors our interest. So 667,632 minus the 295,238. Okay, when we subtract that, 667,632, we said we are subtracting 295,238. That gives us a 372, a 394. So this is the difference between the number of vehicles within the two provinces for that particular year of 2024. Then identify the province that had the highest number of registered vehicles in March 2024. So in March 2024, okay, this is our interest. Remember, our A was 8. It was 86 something. Was it 860263? Okay. Now the highest number we are seeing is this 5 million. So the province they want is that province. So we're going to say that the province is the Gauteng province. All right, then we move on to 1.3. So they're telling us in 1.3 that Busi extracted part of the municipal account statement to check the amount she has to pay towards her bills. Study the table and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so on the 12th of December 2024, there is a balance brought forward, which is VAT exclusive to this March. The inclusive one is that. Then on the 24th, she made a payment of just 2 rands. Then there was another payment of 1330. Okay. And then the subtotal is all of this. Okay. So we can see then we have property rates, whereby they're telling us that the property rates have the hashtag, which means there is no VAT on those numbers. Okay. And so on and so forth. So we've studied this and the amounts and all of that. They're asking us to identify the zero-rated service from the municipal account statement. So remember, they gave us a hint that where we see the hashtag, that's the zero-rated, and it's basically the property rates. So our answer here is just going to be property rates. All right, then determine the value of C, which is the VAT that is charged. So where is C? This is C. So we have 2 ways. Remember, C is located within the total column. Okay, the column for the total. Meaning that it's either we add these two, okay, meaning that it's a 24,21 plus 14,27. Let's see. We're saying 24,21 plus 14,27. And this gives me a 38,48. This is how I would have done it, okay? Alternatively, one can see that this is the amount of that is exclusive. This is the amount that is inclusive. Let's subtract the two amounts and see if we're going to get the same answer. Okay, so 600,03 subtract 561,55. Okay, 600,03. So you're subtracting 561,55. That gives me the same answer as a 38,48. So either way, either alternative, you'd still get more or less the same answer. All right. Then we move on to 1.3.3. They're telling us to show by means of calculation that the value of D, which is the VAT exclusive total, is this. Okay. So where is D? We need to check out where D is. So D is here. The VAT exclusive total is 700 something. So there was a subtotal initially of the payment and whatever was brought forward of this much. Now in the new month, this is how much is allocated and what must be paid. So what we need to do is we can plus these two numbers together. Okay. So we're having 219,70 plus the 561,55. Okay, we're saying 219,70 plus 561,55. And this gives me a total of 781,25. So we cannot fail such questions where the answer is already given, okay? Just aim or work towards getting the answer correct. All right, so that brings us to the end of question number 1. Okay, we move on to question number 2. Question number 2, they're telling us that TD sells traditional belts, okay? The cost of producing each belt or one belt is 90 Rand. She sells each belt for 270. She has to pay monthly rental. Remember now, this monthly rental is more like a fixed cost. The stall and then the monthly rental fee of this for the machine, this is also a fixed cost. This 90 is a variable cost. This is the selling price. Okay, then they give us the table for the income and expenditure for selling the traditional belts. So number of items sold, okay, if she doesn't sell anything, there's no income, but the costs have to be incurred. All right. Then they want us to get the value of A, which is the fixed cost. So fixed costs, remember we said you have to pay the rent where you are working from, and then you must pay the rent for the machine that you are using, meaning that our total is just 900 rands. Okay, then 2.1.2 show that the income that this person received from selling 5 traditional belts is 1350. Now remember, each belt is 270. If we multiply this by 5, let's see. So 270 times 5 gives us the 1350. Okay, so that is how we meant to go about with 2.1.2. And then now 2.1.3, they want us to get the value of P. Where is P? And P represents the number of items. Okay, we have the expense. Remember, each belt is 270 times N. So 2160 is equal to 270 N. Let's divide by 270. Let's divide by 270. This would make sense. Okay, so we're dividing by 270, which gives me just 8 belts. Okay, yeah, this is more realistic. Okay, so those are 8 belts that need to be sold for us to get the 2160. Now, if you are to use the 1620, okay, with the 1620, you have to first of all subtract the fixed costs, which are 900, okay, meaning that we have 1620 minus 900, which gives me 720. Now this 720, okay, will give me the total of 1620. Is that gonna make sense? How much is each? They're telling us each one is using 90 rands, okay? So if we get the 90 times N is equal to 720, meaning is 720 divided by 90. Let's see if we get the same answer. Yes, we get 8 as well. So that's another alternative that we could use. All right, then we need to go to 2.1.4, identify the break-even coordinates from the table. And remember, break-even coordinates are basically coordinates whereby the income and the cost, or basically the revenue and the cost, will be the same. Okay, so they're telling us there is an answer in the table. Is that true? Yes, the answer is here. So which is 5 and then 13, because the income and expenses are just the same. So they want the coordinates, which is going to be 5 belts and then 13, 15. So that brings us to the end of 2.1.4a. And then hence determine, okay? Hence determine the number of traditional belts that this person must sell to start making profits. So if at 5 belts, the income and expense will be the same, which means she needs to sell 6 belts. Minimum must be 6 for her to get some bit of a profit. Okay. Then 2.1.5, complete the formula for calculating the total expense where N represents the number of traditional belts. Write your answer in this form. So total expenses, remember, we know that the total cost will be basically the fixed cost plus the variable cost. Okay. So it's saying total cost is fixed cost plus the variable cost. Our fixed cost we got as 900 plus the variable cost is basically 90 times n. Okay, so that is that with 2.1.5. Then hence determine the profit that she will make from selling 100 belts. And then they're telling us that profit is income minus expenses. Now let's see. The income from 100 belts, remember she's selling each belt for 270 rands. If we multiply this by 100, we're gonna get 27,000 rands, okay? Then when we look at the expenses, using the formula that we used in above, it's gonna be 900 plus, okay, 90 times 100. So this is gonna be 9,900, okay? And then for us to get the profit is going to be 27,000 minus 9,900. Okay, if I punch that into my calculator, that becomes 17,100 rands, which is a lot of money. It's a lot and a lot of profits that this lady is making. Okay, so that is how we would have claimed the 6 marks. Get the income for the 100 belts, okay? And then we get the costs for the 100 belts, for making 100 belts. And then we subtract the two, then we get our profit. Okay, then 2.2. This lady received an order from a local church to produce 250 traditional bells, which is additional profit. Ne? So she borrowed 60,000 from a local bank at an interest rate of 12% compounded annually. Determine the total amount she will pay if she repays the loan in 1 year and 6 months. Okay, we're dealing with compound interest, meaning that for the first year, okay, the interest rate is going to be 12%. And then the 6 months, I don't know if we should use that, but it's fine. It's okay. Should we change it to just 6%? Half of that? No problem. No stress. Okay, determine how much she will pay. So meaning that year one is going to be the 60,000, because that's what she borrowed. The 250 is not of relevance. So we're multiplying this by 12 over 100 plus the 60,000, okay? So this multiplication will represent the amount of interest that's going to be accumulated. So we're saying 60,000 times 12 over 100. Remember, we're not using any formulas here. So this gives me 7.2 plus the 60,000. So it is going to be 67,200. Okay, that is for the first year. And then for the next 6 months, okay, we're going to use this accumulated value, which is going to be 67,200. Instead of using a 12%, I'm going to use 6% since it's just for 6 months. So that's going to be 6 over 100 plus my original 67,200. Okay. Then I have 67,200 times 6 over 100. Okay, that gives me 40,32. And then plus the 67,200. Okay, so we're saying plus 67,200, which gives me 71,232 rands, which is quite a lot. Okay, remember this compound interest. So that is how I would have gone about this. Please just advise me if there's anything that I did not really achieve at this point for 8 marks. But that would be the logic for me. Okay. Now, let's see. With the next question, hence determine the total amount of interest she will repay. Now, with interest, we know that it is the final value minus the initial value. Okay, she's paying 71232. We are subtracting 60,000. Okay, so let's see. 71232 minus the 60,000, which becomes 11,232. Okay, so that is how we would get those 2 marks for question number 2. All right, so guys, that is that with question number 2. We move on to question number 3. Question number 3, they're telling us that Lucky extracted a summary of metric results from the metric report to determine the variance of each province. Study the summary in table 5 and answer the questions that follow. Okay, so we have all the 9 provinces, and we have the pass rate between 2023 and 2024. And then they're telling us that the variance is basically the difference between the percentage pass of 2023 and 2024. Okay, then we go on. 3.1.1. Write down the total number of learners who wrote the examination from the Gauteng province in a number format. Now, when you look at the numbers, they're just confusing us by just saying that these numbers are in millions, okay? Meaning that for us to get the total number that we are interested in, we can just multiply this by 1 million, and then we get the exact number format that they want. So we're going to say that 0.741 multiplied by 1 million. Okay, so 0.741, say 741 times a million. That gives me 741,000 learners. Okay, so that brings me to the end of 3.1.1. Then 3.1.2, identify the province with less than 100,000 learners. So meaning if I get 100,000 and try to divide it by a million, okay, so 100,000 divided by a million, I'm getting 0.1, meaning that we need to look for a province that has less than 0.1, and that province, all these are above except for this one, which is a 0.07. So Northern Cape. Okay, so Northern Cape becomes the culprit, or NC. Okay, so that is with 3.1.2. Then 3.1.3. What is the trend observed from the results? Must give a reason. Now, when you look at this, okay, remember the number of learners that wrote are basically the ones for 2024. Okay, we don't have information about the 2023 learners. The only information we have is the percentage pass. Okay, so now what you observe is this is 80.6. This is a T, which we don't know. Okay, this is 89.7. This is 91, 86, 88, 80.2, 84, 83, 88. So when you look at generally, the performance is improving. Okay, so we could say that there is a general increase in the percentage from 2023 up to 2024. There was a general increase, okay? And then the question is, could we have a reason for that? Why there's a general increase? Probably there was improved resource allocation, okay? There was increased venues or channels for intervention or improvement of results. All those could be other reasons that we must give for the increment. Okay, we cannot say the minister was changed, that's why the results are good. It's not good enough. All right, 3.1.4 is the data in table 5, okay, column number 2. So when you talk about table 5, column number 2, which is the number of learners, is it discrete or continuous? Now, this data is discrete, okay? Why is it discrete? Because it is the total number of learners. Reason being is that number of learners exists only as whole numbers, okay? Someone could also say that discrete data is basically countable data. We are dealing with data that we count. So there is no way we can say that that is continuous because they are decimals. The decimals will be basically another representation, okay? Then 3.1.5 determine the value of S, which is the minimum pass percentage, if the range of 2023 is 14.3%. We know that range is maximum minus minimum. So where is S? S is here, okay? S is this, so we have a 76.5 in 2024, which is like our maximum. So our range value is 14.3. This must be the maximum value that we are seeing since there was a trend of an increment. We say it's 76.5. Okay, 76.5 minus the minimum value. Okay, so we're gonna move this one that side and move this one that side, switch positions. Okay, so the minimum value, why am I even still calling it minimum? Let me just call it S. So S is gonna be 76.5 minus 14.3. So 76.5 minus 14.3 gives me a 62.2%, okay, which is like a decline. Okay, then calculate the value of T if the mean of the 2024 pass percentage is that. Now remember that mean is the sum of items over the number of items. So our mean is 85.5. We need to add up whatever is above over the number of items. We're dealing with 9 provinces, okay? So adding up this, we're gonna have a tricky situation. Let me just try to add up everything. So it's 91.9 plus 88.5 plus 84.7 plus 88.6 plus 83.5 plus 86.6 plus 76.5 plus now the T value that we got, which is no, is it the T or the S value? No, the S is not important. And then we have 2 T's. So I'm getting 600.3. And then we have 2 T's. Then I just need to multiply both sides by 9. Okay, so if I multiply both sides by 9, that's gonna be 85.5 times 9, which becomes 769.5. So this 9 cancels that. This is 600.3 plus 2T. I need to transpose this to that side. Okay, so it's 769.5 minus 600.3 equals to 2T. When I subtract this, 769.5 minus 600.3, which gives me 169.2 is equal to 2T. For me to get T alone, divide both sides by 2. Okay, so when I divide this answer of mine by 2, I'm getting 84.6%. So that becomes my overall result for that part. Okay, So that is that with that particular question 3.1.6. Then 3.2, okay. They're telling us that Lucky again extracted data from the 10 education districts in the highest number of high-risk learners to investigate the performance of these results. Okay, so we have the different districts, the total that wrote, and then the total number of high-risk learners. Okay, so we have all this information, good. And they're asking us 3.2.1, can we express as a ratio in a unit form, okay, the total number of high-risk learners in Tshwane South of the first half, and then find the median of the second half of the right-hand side, and then you have your values. Okay, then we're going to have, okay, question number 4. Question number 4. So express as a unit ratio of high-risk number of Tshwane South to the total number that wrote from the Tshwane South. So Tshwane South is 1,060, okay, is to the total number that wrote, which is 15,657. Okay, then I have to divide by 1,060, divide by 1,060. This cancels that, that's a 1. Okay, when I divide this, so 15,657. 15,657 divided by 1,060 becomes 14,77. So this becomes the unit ratio. From all districts in ascending order. So we know that ascending order is basically from the smallest to the biggest. So the smallest number we see is 800. No, it's actually 700. So this is position 1. This is going to be position number 2, position number 3, position number 4, then position number 5, position number 6, number 7, position number 8, 9, and then 10. Okay, so we said it's 7, 8, 3. Then 2 is 8, 2, 4, 8, 3, 7. Then number 4, where's number 4 for us? It's 865. Number 5 is 911. Number 6 is 926. Number 7 is 946. Number 8 is 1060. Number 9 okay, our number 9 is 1095, and then our number 10 is 1161. Okay, so that is what was needed. Then they are telling us to hence complete the 5-number summary table. Okay, so with the 5-number summary, the minimum is 783, the maximum is 1161 for the high-risk learners. Okay, not the total that wrote. Okay, then we need to get the Q or the median. Okay, so since we have 10 numbers, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we need to plus these two numbers and then divide by 2. Okay, so that's going to be 911 plus 926, and then divide by 2, which gives me 918,5. Okay, so our median is 918,5. So if our median lies just in between we have 1, 2, which means the Q1 is 837. And then 1, 2, 1, 2. So 1060 becomes the Q3. Okay, so that is how we would have obtained that. So Q1, you find the median of the first half, and then find the median of the second half of the right-hand side, and then you have your values. Okay. Then we move on to question 4. We're saying that this person is a 67-year-old. Okay. She receives an annual salary increment or an annual salary of 680. She'll also receive a bonus, okay, equal to the monthly salary in the 2025 tax year. She donates 30% of the annual salary to the local orphanage. Okay, and then we can say that an individual can donate up to a maximum of 100,000 over a period of 1 tax year. Okay, so we have all of this table, and then they want us to determine the rebate which this person qualifies for. So a rebate is basically money that you'll be excused from paying, okay? So looking at this lady's age, which is 67, okay? 67, she qualifies for just the primary and the secondary, meaning that 17235 plus 9444. So 17235 plus 9444 becomes 26,679. Okay, that's the rebate that she will qualify for. Then calculate her annual gross. So the gross is basically the amount of money before deductions are made. Okay, so we have the 680 plus the bonus that is equal to the monthly salary. So if we get the 680, okay, let's start with the monthly salary. We're saying 680,000 divide by 12. The answer I'll get, I'll need to plus the 680. Okay, remember this is like a bonus. So 680,000 divided by 12 is going to be 56,666,67. And then the 680,000. Okay. When you plus the 680,000, we end up with 736,666,67 rands. Okay. Then they're telling us to show with calculations that her annual donation is 100,000. So remember, they told us that the donation is 30% of her annual salary. So if we get 30 over 100 multiplied by the 736 and then 666,67. Okay, multiply this by 30 over 100. Does it make sense? Okay, so if I get the 30%, okay, we said 30 divided by 100 multiplied by 736,666. Okay, then 67. What we are getting is 221,000. Okay, so 221,000. Okay, so 30% of our amount is supposed to give us this. But then there was a restriction where we were told that the maximum that a person can, okay, so her maximum donation is going to be just 100,000. So if ever the percentage gives you a bigger amount, the maximum they can restrict you to is just that. Okay, then 4.1.4, determine her annual taxable income. So we know that the taxable income is basically the gross minus any deductions, okay? In this case, she's not contributing towards any UIF. We don't see any sort of talk about that. So what we can do, we can get our total or annual salary of 736,67. And then let's subtract the 100,000 for the donation, okay? Meaning that this is going to be, because this is 736, so it's going to be 636, the 666,67 rand. So this is the annual taxable income. Okay. Then next, they want us to identify the tax bracket. So 636 is in which tax bracket? 636, I think it is this bracket. So bracket 1, bracket 2, bracket 3, bracket 4. So just tell us it is tax bracket number 4. Okay, that is tax bracket number 4. Then 4.1.6, the lady claimed that a person under the age of 65 with a taxable income of this much per annum does not qualify to pay tax in 2025. Can we show by calculation whether the claim is valid or invalid? Now, with what we are focusing on, we're not talking of her. We're talking of someone else with a 95,750. So let's start by locating the tax bracket. So 95,000, 95,750. Okay. 95,7, which is tax bracket 1. So in tax bracket 1, okay, they're telling us that you have to pay 18%. But, okay, but let's see, we need to verify that. So it's 18%. We're saying that this is tax bracket 1, which is 18%, okay, times the 95,750. Okay, what do we get there? So that's gonna be 18 divided by 100 times 95,750, which gives me 17235. Okay, then we're going to subtract the rebates. Okay, so we can say less rebates. This person is below 65, meaning that they only qualify for the primary rebate, which primary rebate is 17,235. Okay, minus 17,235. When you subtract that, we get a 0. Okay, so 0 tax needs to be paid. Therefore, okay, her claim is valid. Okay, so that is how we would have approached this particular question. Then we move on to 4.2. She went to a local restaurant to buy ice cream. Ice cream can be plain, dipped in caramel, or dipped in chocolate. She can have the nuts, mint, or Smarties. We have all those options given to us. Now they want us to complete the tree diagram within the spaces. Okay, so number 1, because remember, it's PCA. Number 1 is supposed to be C, which is just a chocolate. Number 2, they said nuts. Okay, then mint. So it's supposed to have M here, which is a mint. And then the outcome here is that we have the chocolate and then we have the S. Okay, so that is how we were supposed to have that done. Then we move on to 4.2.2, determine the probability of buying an ice cream without caramel. Express your answer as a decimal. Now without caramel. Remember, caramel is this entire portion. So if the all of this falls away. Okay, how many options do we have? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 options over the 9. Okay, ice cream without caramel. So we're going to say probability of ice cream with no C. Okay, where is caramel? Caramel is just the first part. So that entire portion is gone. So it's going to be 6 over 9. Then 6 divided by 9 gives me 0.66, which is like a 0.7. Then name one advantage of selling different flavors of ice cream. So it increases revenue, or it even offers a variety, okay, to the clients. You offer a variety to the clients, and chances are that if someone doesn't enjoy chocolate, at least there'll be something that they will enjoy from whatever is there. Okay, so then we have question 5. They're telling us that Pule has a business of delivering goods to various companies. The diagram below represents the weekly income of the drivers grouped according to the mode of transport that they use. Okay. Study the diagram and answer questions that follow. Which mode of transport generates more income? Motivate more, your answer. Okay, one thing we are seeing with the motorbike is that the minimum is 200. Okay, we have the same value of the Q1 400. Then 50% of the motorbike riders get 800 less, 800 above. The same Q3, and then we have the maximum of 1.6. So in this case, we're going to say it's the motorbike. Will it make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Because in this case, if I'm comparing the two, then I'm just focusing on the median. Okay, so I'm going to say the car. Why? Because it has a higher median of 1,000 runs, meaning that 50% of the drivers, okay, they earn 1,000 runs or more. I think that can be the explanation. Okay, in as much as the 75 is the same, the 25 is the same, and the maximum is also smaller. Remember, this maximum could be an outlier. Who knows? And 5.1.2, the company has 300 motorbike drivers. How many motorbike drivers are generating income that is greater than the upper quartile? Now, remember, Q1 is the lower quartile, Q3 is the upper quartile. The percentage between Q3 and the upper is just the 25%. Okay, because now greater than upper quartile, so it's going to be 25% of 300. Which is 25 over 100 times 300, okay? What do we get with that? We're getting 75 riders, okay? 75 drivers. Okay, then 5.1.3, the maximum income for a motorbike driver represented on the graph was increased by 20% due to the high demand. Calculate the original maximum. And so if it is increased, remember their maximum is 1.6. Okay. The maximum income of a motor driver on the graph was increased due to the high demand. Calculate the original maximum before the increment. So meaning that this 1.6 is representing a 120%. So how much is 100%? So it should be slightly smaller. So I'll say 100 divided by 120 times 1.6. Okay, so 100 divided by 120 times 1.6. I'm getting 1,333.33. So this was originally the smallest amount If you multiply it by 1.2, you'll get to 1.6. All right, so that is what I'm getting with 5.1.3. 5.1.4 determine the interquartile range of the income generated by the car drivers. So we know that the IQR is Q3 minus the Q1. So our Q3 for the car is 1.2 and 400 respectively. So 1.2 minus 400, that gives us 800 rands. All right, 5.2. Pule ordered more motorbikes from India and paid 3,000 rupees for shipping. The cost of each motorbike is 12,000 rupees. Then they're telling us that 1 Indian rupee, you'll have to pay a fraction of the rand. So which currency is stronger? So it's basically the ZAR. Okay, South African rand will be stronger because number one, you pay using more, or you get less units. Okay, you get less units of the rand for more units of the rupee. Okay, so that would be the explanation that I'm getting. Then will 30,000 be enough to buy 12 motorbikes and pay for shipping? We must show all the calculations. Okay, so with 5.2.2, they're telling us will 30,000 be enough to buy the 12 motorbikes? And so we know that one motorbike is 12,000, which is 12 times 12,000, which is 144,000. Okay, that's just the cost. And then the shipping is for all the bikes, yeah? Because this person ordered more bikes and paid 3,000. So if we plus the 3,000 here, it's going to be 7,000. Then we need to convert this to, no, these are rupees, not rands. Okay, convert these rupees to rands. We know that 1 rupee is 0.21 rands. Then what if we have 147,000, which means it's going to be 147,000 times 0.21. Okay, you multiply that 147,000 0.21, that gives us 30,870. This is what we are getting. Okay. Alternatively, what one would have done was to convert these rands, the 30,000, to rupees, so that you have 30,000 divided by the 0.21. Okay. So 30,000 divided by 0.21, that gives us 142,857. Our interest is 147. So in this case, the conclusion would be 30,000 will not be enough. It will not be enough. All right, guys. So we move on. Then 5.2.3, they want us to name 2 advantages of buying items online. Okay, number 1, at times there are specials. Okay, so discounted sales. Okay, then you need to take advantage. Sometimes you take advantage of a stronger rand. Okay, in other words, if you have a stronger rand, you're going to buy the expensive items in dollars very cheaply. Okay, and then the next one, it's even the quality. Okay, you're looking at the good quality or the best quality, because nobody would advertise cheap, inferior items on whatever online. Okay, 5.3. Truly paid 270 to refill her 4K gas. it was announced that the gas prices would increase to 6.761 cents per kg in February. Calculate the expected percentage increase. New price, old price, and all that. Okay, so it is 270 divided by 4. Let's start from there. So 270 divided by 4, I'm getting 67.5. When I look at the 6.761 divided by 100, I have 67.61. So this is the new price. That's the old price. Let's substitute 67.61 minus 67, I'm switching them around. Okay, 67.5, 67.61 divided by 67.5 times 100. Ish, something is off now. Everything is 67. We're in trouble. We said 67.61, 67.5, like that. Okay. So 67.61 minus 67.5 divided by 67.5. And then we are saying we're multiplying this by 100. So this gives me 0.16%. Okay, so that will be the increment for the gas. That brings us to the end of the paper, and wish you guys all the best as you prepare for your paper 2. Let's meet then. Bye-bye.